So, hey guys, this is just my weekly video, so I'm gonna go ahead and get right to it. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. So the first thing is information on week 11 module. So this is just everything that we should be doing. So it's kind of a light week because you're prepping for essay number 4. So I just want to go over all those things. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to read chapter 7 of Outliers, the ethnic theory of plane crashes. And again, this chapter is directly related to essay number 4, which is that question about identity and how does, how do people see us because of our identity. And then you're also going to be looking for a source from the CCP's database, which is a database of online libraries, which I'll show you how to get to. You don't have any quizzes. You do have a discussion, and the discussion is on this essay here, Love as the Practice of Freedom. So you're going to read that, and it's talking in a lot of ways about what we've already been talking about, like how do you empower the Black community specifically, but also, marginalized communities in general. So you're going to read that, and then you have a discussion question. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the CCP databases, because I think that's the thing that most people have questions about. So I am now in my CCP, So mine might look a little bit different than yours, but this is how you get there. So you're going to sign into my CCP, and there's also a video posted in modules that tell you how to do it, but yeah, I can do it as well. You're going to go to Student Quick Links. And here's like everything you need for students. You're going to scroll down and you're going to click on Library. My computer's a little slow. Okay, so once you click on Library, you want to go to, they're all kinds, this is the easiest way and the quickest way that I know how to do it. Just jump to databases, and you want to do A to Z database list. So once you're here, these are all the kind of online databases that we use, that CCP offers its students. And so these are academic sources. So as you move on, in college, lots of you like to Google. We don't want you to do that. We want you to come and use the CCP database, because the sources here are already vetted. So they're in alphabetical order. So you can look at Advanced Search, Academic Search Ultimate, Access Science, Humanities, African American History, depending on the class or the kind of information you're trying to find. My favorite for an intro class, for any intro class, but particularly for English 101, is Opposing Viewpoints. So I'm just going to click on the O. It takes me right to Opposing Viewpoints in Context. So I click on that. It's a little slow. Sorry. All right. So here is Opposing Viewpoints in Context. So say if you get here and you're like, I have no idea, like you can ask a question or you can do a search. But I think the easiest place to begin is to kind of go to Browse Issues. And so the issues are kind of, it's a lot. So depending on how you identify, so say if like one of the things that I'm looking at is gender identity, then I would click on gender identity and it would give me a good place to start for the sources, right? I'm gonna go back. Say if I wanted to look at, I don't know, I've done this before, high school dropouts or higher education, because one of the things I kind of look at for one of the markers of my identity is education. So maybe I'm gonna look at higher education. Maybe I'm gonna look at Black Lives Matter or body image. Maybe if I'm identifying as a mom, I'm gonna look at breastfeeding. Maybe I'm gonna look at, if I'm identifying as a socialist, maybe I want to look at capitalism and figure out, why socialism is looked at in such a negative light. Maybe I want to, so you can, if I identify as a part of the LGBTQ community, maybe I'm going to look here, right? So there are plenty of things that you can look at. if I'm going to, identify as a part of a racial minority, maybe I'm going to look at civil rights. Maybe I'm looking at church and state if I'm going to talk about my religion, right? There's so much to talk about here that I would just begin here. Maybe I'm going to look at, in terms of my ethnicity or my nationality. Maybe I want to look at women's rights. Maybe if I'm an athlete, I can look at, youth sports. So this is a good, maybe if I'm identifying strongly as a parent, I'm going to look at parenting. So this is a really good place to begin because it kind of breaks things off for you. If I'm going to look at socioeconomic class, then maybe I'm going to look at poverty or wealth, depending on what my argument is. So for example, if I go, or maybe if I'm identifying as, politics and religion, if being a Democrat or Republican or independent or liberal or conservative is really a big part of my identity, maybe I'm going to look at politics and religion. And this is really good. Like it kind of does all the thinking for you. All right, so what I want to point out here is that, so this is from the New York Times. I'm just kind of clicking on the first thing I see. So I click on the article and it may be usable, it may not be usable. So here's the full article. What I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to the works cited page. Lots of you are struggling with your works cited page in the correct format. A really good reason why you should use the databases is because it does the works cited for you. Here's what it is. So I would just copy and paste this and put it in at the end of my essay on my works cited page. It literally does all the work for me. Now, the other thing you can do is that once you find an article that you like, I can go to send to, and I'm going to email this to me. And so you would just put your email and then you would have the article. So if you find the article that you think is interesting, please email it to yourself because otherwise you'll probably lose it when you go back into the database. So I'm going to cancel that. So again, you want to send that article, whatever article that you think you are going to need, to yourself so that you can use it. And play around with this. Look all over the place. But you're going to send it to yourself, and then at the end, which is, it just gives you the works cited, which is always lovely. So I'm going to come out of this. So again, I'm in opposing viewpoints, and I did browse issues. And it took me right to like larger issues. If I know what I want to talk about, maybe I can ask a question. So maybe I want to talk about, maybe I'm Muslim. So maybe I want to talk about Muslim Americans. I can also do the search here. And I'll get some hits. But I might have to, it's just not, I have to come up with the search term. Whereas if I go to browse the issues, it does it for me. So I'm gonna come out of here, and that's a good way to use your CCP database. And then the last thing I wanna do is I wanna talk about the actual question itself. So I posted this under week 10 in assignments. And again, so this is just review, but what you should be doing is you should be thinking about and mapping out your identity, because that's the easiest way to get into this paper. In any paper, it's always easiest to consider how you define yourself. And so I gave you a couple of examples, right? So it can include age, nationality, ethnicity, sexual orientation, education, religion, political affiliation, disability. It can include your family role. It can include your neighborhood. It can include if I identify as an athlete, like what does that mean? So you really want to map out what it is that before you begin looking for sources, you want to map out kind of what it is that you're interested in terms of this identity. And the question is, in what ways does our identity, how we see ourselves, as well as how others see us, impact our ability to be successful, right? So in what ways does your ethnicity or your sexual orientation, or for me, I have lupus, or so having a chronic illness, in what ways does that get in the way of my success? So begin to think about that. And so maybe another way to approach this, or what way does being a mom, like, you know, most women make less than men because you have to come out for pregnancy and maternity leave. Or if I choose to stay at home for 5 years and I'm behind, you know, the advancement track that my male colleague might have because I chose to stay at home with my children. So you're thinking about all those things. And then the last thing is, I'm going to go back to modules. So you are, again, it's a light week. It's really, you're kind of putting stuff together. And you should be seeing a pattern now, right? So light week, hard week, light week, hard week. So again, this is everything that you're doing. And the reading is chapter 7. You're going to the CCP database and you're going to find one source, at least one source. If you want to find more than one, that's fine. But for this paper, you need one source that you actually use in your paper in the form of a quote or a paraphrase. There are no quizzes, and then you have a discussion on this Bell Hooks article, Love as a Practice of Freedom. So if I gotta go back to modules, and the first thing you're gonna do for this paper, so this week it's just a lot of setup. So you wanna go through this, how to access the library. It kind of goes over everything I just said in the video, how to choose the right search terms, how to cite articles you get from EBSCOhost. You probably wanna pay a lot of attention to that. They're talking about in-text citation here. Okay, and then your annotated bibliography is due on November 29th. Your quotation summary and paraphrase, that's another, so you're looking ahead, we'll not pay attention to that, but the annotated bibliography is due on November 29th. And so again, that annotated bibliography, which you should be preparing for this week, when you look at your CCP database, it should include one source from the library database that is relevant to your thesis, and at least 2 readings from our course that are also relevant to your thesis, right? And that's due November 29th. All right, so I'm gonna stop my share. So I think that's it. We're coming toward the end of this. So you have this one last paper. It has to be 5 pages. It has to use the source from CCP database. You have to kind of practice doing an annotated bibliography because we're looking ahead to 102. And then you have your final exam, and you get to hand in one paper that you want to rewrite. And I'll go ahead, I'll open that up the week after Thanksgiving, so you can start thinking about that. I will also post some more extra credit assignments. And you want to begin thinking about your grade. You need a C to get out of here so you don't have to take this again. So if you do not have a C, you want to reach out to me and see if we can come up with a plan to get you out of here. And I think that's it. So I don't have office hours today. I have a doctor's appointment. But if you need to talk to me, you can for sure email me, and we can schedule a Zoom meeting for Tuesday, or my office hours on Wednesday and Friday. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Hang in there. We are so close to done. All right. Take care, guys.